Right. Welcome to my channel, United We Fall, Divided We Stand. You'll think that's an interesting title because it's the opposite of what we hear. United we stand, divided we fall. But I believe in the opposite because one of the reasons that we're in trouble the way we are in America is because of unity, is because of tolerance, diversity, globalism. And in order to stand, we must have division. And I mean, even the Bible tells us this because I am a Christian nationalist. And what the Bible tells us is that Jesus came with the sword to bring division even among those in the same household. Well, the same is true in being Americans. If we want to stand as American, when I say America, I'm talking about 1776 constitutional republic, no democracy, constitutional republic, rooted in Christian values, Protestant Christian values, not Judeo-Christian values, then we're going to have division. Divided we stand, meaning we divide ourselves from those who are handing America over and supporting the handing of that over of America to the Jewish Bolshevik communists. Globalism. See, communism didn't end with the fall of Russia, the Soviet Union, I should say. Russia's still there. Over the Berlin Wall, communism is still alive and well. It's redressed as globalism. The United Nations, based in New York City. If we had the same mindset as our forefathers did in establishing this great country of ours, we would not even allow the United Nations to be on our land. The United Nations is the world capital for the New World Order, which is none other than the Jewish Bolshevik world order, a communistic world order. Now, this is a new channel. I will be talking about solutions. I will be talking about patriotic type of things. And when I say patriot, don't confuse it with the neoconservative, right-wing, Judeo-Christian, support Israel, support the Republican Party. I'm not talking about that type of patriotism. I'm talking about real 1776 patriotism that would have never supported a man like Donald Trump, that would never support Israel in its wars. The type of patriotism that loved this country and what it stood for. But we have been brainwashed and programmed by the Jewish Bolshevik propaganda machine called the Tau Vision into our children being ashamed of our country, how it started, being ashamed of our country, hating our heritage, and exalting the heritage of others, i.e. Native Americans. And now even anti-white propaganda. And that is important. Why? Because it was European whites that came over and established America. And what they don't tell you, because then they'll say, yes, but look what they did to the Indians. But what they don't tell you is that this is how nations have always been established, time immemorial, is by either going to an unoccupied land, which is very rare, the later time got, or conquering another nation. It has happened time again. African tribes were doing it to each other. They did it, I'm sure if you go into history, they even did it probably to maybe some white tribes. Native Americans were doing it to each other. And they were offering human sacrifices. So what they're doing in the schools is singling out America in the way it was established, as if that was anything different than when anybody established itself in the history of this world. They mentioned slavery. And I'm glad slavery ended, but the fact is, slavery was a time immemorial institution, and several nations did it to each other. It was part of the economy of history. You saw slavery. It's even in the Bible, whether people, a lot of Christians don't like to admit it, but it's in the Bible too. And it was just part of an economic system of many nations throughout history. But it's ended. No nation was ever meant to be perfect. No nation was ever meant to not have warts. And I, for one, am glad that the Protestant Christians came over here and established the greatest country known to man in the history of this world. And I'm glad they defeated the Native Americans. See, we got to be unapologetically patriotic because, see, you've been conditioned as an American to hate your heritage, hate your Christian values, hate the fact that there was prayer in school, hate how the Protestant European Christians founded this country, when in fact you should be proud of it. Throughout history, people were always proud of their ancestors and how they conquered other nations, how they defeated other nations in war. This doesn't mean we should be a warmongering people. But the concept of being ashamed of your history, your heritage, because you conquered another people is strange. It is something that is unique to now. And why? Because you have the advent of the television in 1947, Hollywood, run admittedly by the Jews, who were part of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, killing not only in Russia, but beyond and throughout decades, 70 to 80 million European Christians. And since the advent of the TV, the programming was used as a subversive tactic to get people to hate their own heritage, their own race. So now you have anti-white propaganda. I'm white. And if I tell you that I'm not ashamed to be white and I celebrate it, who I am, you will call me a racist because you've been programmed by the television that anybody who's white who doesn't hate themselves is a racist and a bigot. But of course, blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, Asians can celebrate till the cows come home their culture and be proud of who they are. Why is that? Because in order for the Jewish Bolshevik communist revolution to succeed in America, they have to undermine the white man. Why? Because it is white people that are the most ferocious when it comes to freedom. That is a fact. Even the company I work for, which is politically correct, when they do diversity training, they will say that it is white people that are fervent for their freedom. So I got to remove this person. Awesome. Their messages are hidden. So this is what's going on. So the Jewish Bolsheviks have to attack the European white man and woman, devalue them, demoralize them. You have white people now that are so demoralized. They're so cucked because they were raised themselves by their boomer parents on TV, and they're boomers. The TV came into prominence during their childhood, so they love the TV. So they are so programmed by Hollywood, Jewish Hollywood, to hate themselves. They're programmed to be ashamed of their culture, their European heritage. Even if they say anything remotely positive about white people, they're deemed racist, KKK, Nazi, etc. Now, this is where I'm coming from. To be an American, a true patriot, and when I say patriot, I'm not talking about World War II. World War II, we fought on the wrong side, and we should have never got involved in that war. I'm talking about true 1776 patriotism. America first and America only. And when I talk about America first, America only, I talk about it also being rooted in Christian values. And I'm not talking about Judeo-Christianity, Catholic Christianity. I'm talking about kingdom Christianity brought over by the Protestant Christians. Separation of church and state was never meant to allow, and freedom of religion was never meant to allow other religions such as Islam, Buddhism, Judaism to come over here. It was always meant for the protection of various Christian denominations, that one denomination would not be given the authority as the state church like they did in England and other parts of Europe. That was the reason for the separation of church and state. And there'll be no establishment of religion, freedom of religion. It was freedom for Christian denominations so that Anabaptists and Baptists can worship freely without being persecuted by the Calvinistic denominations, which was happening. This is not a country that was meant for freedom for Islam, Judaism, Catholicism, etc. This is a country where the Pope is not supposed to be welcome. There's been so much damage done to the youth of America, where you have people growing up here, Americans of all races, hating the American flag, hating their own culture, hating patriotism, hating anything associated with pre-sexual revolution and civil rights things, movements, feminist movements. Now, there's a replacement patriotism that is going on today, and it's the right-wing neoconservative movement. And it's supported by Judeo-Christianity, evangelical Christianity. And Donald Trump is one of the figureheads of that, as is Nick Fuentes of the Proud Boys. I am not that. I reject modern conservatism, neoconservatism, Judeo-Christianity, and evangelical Christianity. It's all part of that support Israel package and the wars of Zion and sending our sons and daughters to go fight other people's wars. I'm America first, America only, and Christian America, 1776. Betty Ross flag, as you see in the thumbnail. And I do expect one day that Jesus Christ will come down to bring his kingdom to the earth, as he already has it inaugurated since the day he ascended into heaven. However, I do believe that we are given a responsibility for those that will come after us to leave them something to be proud of, to leave them something to identify with. And we have to be willing to fight. And when I say fight, I'm not talking physically. I'm talking about through information, through activism. Christ, Jesus, is at the center of that, of course, as it was for the early Christians, in America. See, your belief in God and Christ go hand in hand with your government. This whole thing of separation of church and state was way taken out of context by modern day people to bring and promote atheism, removing prayer out of schools. It was a subversive tactic by these communist Bolshevik Jews who hate Jesus Christ. And after World War II, when we fought for them to kill and rape German women and children and men, they gained even more power in the United States of America. Although they had gained it before in the Civil War. You had the Anglo-Saxon North persecute and kill the Celtic South. The Anglo-Saxon North, heavily influenced by Judaism, heavily influenced by Zionism, which was strong through the Rothschild banking system in London, England. And of course, they persecuted the Celtic South. the Civil War. That was the beginning of the end. Then the fait accompli for being the great nation of 1776 was the 1914 Federal Reserve, where we were trillions in surplus money-wise, and now we're trillions in debt through the Jewish Rothschild banking system. Then you have World War I, and World War II was what brought us now into this new world order fully. The end game will not be pretty if we don't do something about it. But again, the first enemy is your mind, because you have been programmed to hate America, to hate Christian values, to hate moral, virtuous values, and you've been conditioned to celebrate degeneracy brought to you by Jewish Hollywood, such as transgenderism, feminism, MGTOW, homosexuality, lesbianism, pedophilia, the degradation of Hollywood. You've been told to celebrate that, to hate white people. If you're white, hate yourself. Exalt other cultures, Black culture and hip-hop culture and Native American culture. It's time to reform your mind into knowing who you are, that you are a descendant of a people. And when I say this, I'm not talking about you're literally a descendant of the forefathers of America, foremothers. I'm talking about in spirit. Do you love freedom? That's how you know you're truly an American. Do you love freedom? And are you willing to divide with people who do not have your same value for freedom? Because we, America, are the last stand for the world in this global communistic new world order, the age of Aquarius, the 1,000-year millennium, the 1,000 points of light. We are the last stand, America. The whole world's depending on us. So I'm going to be doing more videos. We're going to talk about solutions. We're going to talk about history. We're going to talk about what's going on today. And it's going to be very American focused, because to be honest with you, I don't care what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, because I'm an American. I just don't want my sons and daughters going over there. The best I can do is pray for them. But my focus is on here, blood and soil. And I'm going to talk about warnings that we have of plans to put patriots in internment camps, to put patriots in mental hospitals. Because we're the last hope, not only of America, but of the world. All right, you guys have a good one.